first you're going to, because marking is the full length of the blouse you're working with. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be using about 24 inches for it. So I'll go ahead and mark it, make a rule across. Then the next thing to insert is your shoulder measurement. So mine is 8 inches. Then from there, 1 inch down for my shoulder slope. Then I'll mark my chest line, which is 7.5. Chest line also has my armhole depth. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a rule across that point. All right. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to mark now is my bust line, which is at 10 inches. Then my under bust, which is at 13 inches. Then my waistline, which is at 17 inches. Then the remaining is my hemline. So I'll go ahead and make a rule across each point that I've made. So I will label it B, U, W, which is my waist, H, hem. B is my under bust, U is my under bust, W is my waistline, B is my bust line. Okay, then I will mark my shoulder measurements, my neck width, which is 3 inches, connect it to my shoulder slope. All right. I'm going to go ahead now to mark my nipple to nipple measurement, which is the bust pump measurement. Mine is 4 inches. I'll mark it on my bust line, under bust, waist, and at the hem of my blouse. That is the full length of the blouse, the down base of it. Alright. Having done this now, connect all the points together using a stretch rule. Sorry, I also marked it on my chest line. That's error. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark 1.25 inches outward on the bust line. The same thing at the under bust. Then I'll do the same thing to the hemline. Then I'll come over to the inward. I'll mark 1 inch at the under bust, 1 inch at the waistline, 1 inch at the hemline. Then I'll connect the points together. That is the 3 points together, just as you see me doing now. Now I'm going to be using the curved part of this rule to connect to my bust line. Okay, just go ahead and make a curve. The same thing to this other side of it. This is what you will have. At this point, I'm going ahead to make a curve at my armhole area. I'll divide what I have there into 2. From that point, I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch. Alright, connect it to my shoulder slope. Then go ahead and make a curve into my chest line, just as you see me doing. Okay, so this is what we have. Now you determine where you want your shoulder to start from, because this is an off shoulder actually. Where you want yours to start from. Mine will start from 6 inches. So I've make the points. Go ahead and make a straight through at that point. Okay, now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to mark 3 inches starting from that point, like the center line of it. I'm going to mark 3 inches. So from the center point, go ahead and mark 3 inches. So this is my 3 inches. I've marked it. Now I'm going to connect it to the bust line. Okay, so connect your 3 inches to your bust line, and this is what we have. Now we're going to tighten this over bust. We're going to tighten it so it's going to be firm. So to tighten the over bust, you're going to mark 0.75 inches on both sides of that line. Alright, so mark 0.75 inches, connect it to your bust line back, connect back to your bust line, and this is what you're going to have. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead to add back the 1.5 inches we have removed back to the armhole area. 1.5 because 0.75 times 2, making it 1.5. Okay, then plus 1 inch stitching allowance. Alright, so go ahead and mark it at that armhole area. So I'm adding back the 1 inch for my stitching allowance at this point. Then I'll connect it into my chest line. And this is what we have. Now we're going to be making a curve from our over bust into the chest line. So that is the next thing we're going to go ahead to do now. So you'll be needing the curved part of your row. Actually, you can also use a free hand, but I think the curved part of your row will be more preferable for this. So if you do it and it's not coming out well, go ahead and do it, retrace it very well. At this point now, I'll go ahead and add my body measurements. So the first thing first is my bust measurements, which is 8.5 inches. Then I'm going to measure what I have at this point now. I have 0.75 inches. Then at this upper area, I have 1.5 inches. Okay, so you add it back to your pattern paper. So after stitching, you will not have shortage of fabric. Okay, plus 1 inch stitching allowance. Then you can go ahead and add your seam allowance. Then the next point is your underbust. You have to measure your underbust measurements. Mine is 29. When I divide it, I will have 7.25 inches. I'll mark it there. Then I'll come down to my waistline and mark my waist measurements. Now this is actually a semi corset, should I say corset here. So you're going to tighten your waist area to be firm. So it depends on how tight you want or how snatched you want your waist to be. Alright, so remove few inches. You can remove 1 or 2 or 3. Then on the hemline, you go ahead and add your hip measurements at that point. Your hip measurement. So measure the allowances you have removed. Go ahead and add it back to your pattern paper because you definitely be cutting them out. Alright, so I added to my waist, to my hemline, to the under bust. Alright, then you add 1 inch extra for your stitching allowance. Don't mind the shape of your dress. When you're done stitching, everything will align together. So go ahead and connect all these points together. Alright, starting from your bust, your under bust, your waist, to the hemline or hip line. Alright, so you can also decide to make a curve at that hip area, which is optional. The next thing you can do is you can decide to create some darts to the side of your bustier. You can decide to go ahead to create darts, which is totally fine. Now go ahead and cut out your piece. So I'm doing the cutting part of it now. So this is what you're going to have. You're going to go ahead to join this together. Okay, so now at this point you can decide to increase this area upwards. Okay, but it's totally fine this way. So if you want to increase it, do that on your pattern. You can do it on your pattern paper, or you can go ahead and do it on your fabric, so it will be a little bit up, which is fine. So guys, at this point now, this is what I have. Like I said earlier, you can decide to bring this, if you want this upper part to be up a little. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to reduce this part so that this area will be sharp enough. All right, so I'll go ahead now to cut it out. Okay, so this is what we have for our bustier. So what you have to do is when you're sewing, you go ahead and add facings where you pass your boning channels to it. You pass one in front, pass at this bust area, then on the side too. Okay, so it will be very firm. So this is the final result of what we have. Do subscribe, share to friends. Don't forget to watch our other videos.